Architecture is also a great opportunity to get into interdisciplinary work because it seems that almost every time a building is built in the real world, architects are learning a lot along with their clients. If you're designing a school, for instance, you're going to not only put together a well-functioning building, you're going to learn a lot about um, how educational pedagogies, the theory of teaching, impacts the way you design a building. The new launch of the Digital Scholarship Collection by the HD, that's the Hospitality Design Studio, capstone collection by the UNLV libraries is really a great place to take a look and see what sort of interdisciplinary research is happening, has been happening at the School of Architecture for the last decade or more. These projects represent the capstone of students in the Master of Architecture program. One of the projects I'd really like to talk about is a ongoing project right now with master's candidate Osorodian Victory Igbenobaro. He's a Master of Architecture student studying the design of vertiports. These are like mini airports designed for drones. And he's looking at ways to integrate drone technology for everything from food delivery to eventually transportation methods. This project from Victory also inspired us to encourage a number of architecture students to participate in the President's Innovation Challenge, which just wrapped up earlier this spring semester. So with this understanding of the architectural complexities surrounding drone technology, Victory, myself, and a number of other students came together to brainstorm another collection of ideas that might help diversify the economy in Nevada. What we came to was an opportunity to develop a drone-driven 3D virtual library, using drones to scan our built environments and our natural environments to create an archive that is accessible to everyone. Having this kind of database would allow innovation both in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries and other seemingly unrelated industries. The more our interdisciplinary group got to thinking about it, such a library would really have an economic impact in entertainment industries. You could use these 3D models to help generate virtual worlds for video games. You could develop set designs in the movie, cinema industry. Additionally, we saw use by other researchers, such as those in geology. We had a PhD student in geology. We had a business major in undergrad. And the uses were really kind of surprising. Victory and his team just won third place in the President's Innovation Challenge, and they're looking forward to taking their business, Aero AI, into the next stage of its development, hopefully scanning larger parts of the state and developing that virtual library. Another project recently completed and added to the HD scholarship or HD capstone collection in the UNLV digital libraries is a project by Roger Day, class of 2021. This Masters of Architecture student had a passion for investing, and he developed a really novel idea, taking lessons learned from looking at the design and operations of sports books and his passion of investing in the stock market, and combine those to create a stock market-like environment where you could go and invest, embrace the excitement of day trading in an environment that is not too dissimilar from a sports book. This is an exciting project where the student reached out to faculty in our International Gaming Institute and also some world leaders in hospitality design, including Roger Thomas. The two Rogers, Roger Day, the student, and Roger Thomas, were corresponding back and forth with one another from opposite sides of the world. Roger, my student, got great feedback from a visionary in hospitality design. And now Roger is part of the inaugural cohort at the UNLV incubator powered by Hughes. Every once in a while, the design projects in the hospitality design studio get really far out there. And by that, I mean, we have some student projects in the digital scholarship collection in the UNLV libraries done by such students as Juan Orduz and Amy Cordes that are designing for architecture in outer space. When some of my students first looked at this almost 9 years ago, the thought was almost purely science fiction. But since then, we have seen world-leading architects actually designing some of these spaces in anticipation for more human travel outside of the Earth's atmosphere. When Amy first started developing her design ideas for a hospitality design-driven space for outer space, it was really an amazing opportunity that we had connections with Bigelow Aerospace. So again, these ideas that are at the cutting edge in architecture are not science fiction, especially in a place like Las Vegas, where you have leaders in design innovation in the industry just a few miles from our campus. So the opportunity to bring in those expert critics is an opportunity that the hospitality design concentration does not take lightly. So it's really exciting when you've got a couple students over the years engaged in such out of this world projects as designing in outer space, that they're reaching out to disciplines outside of architecture. Juan and Amy have done it. When you dig into this collection, you'll recognize that students every year have been encouraged to reach out to experts in fields outside of architecture, from psychology to health and human services to law enforcement, law, business, engineering, the list goes on and on. They are recognizing that architecture does not exist in a vacuum. And when you start tackling the challenges of the real world, it makes a whole lot of sense to be as inclusive as possible, bring in the diverse experts, and you end up having some really amazing projects.